Hello everyone. Today I've decided to discuss a topic that's quite personal to me. It's something I haven't really done before on my channel, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. At the moment you might only know me as the guy who created the Go Olympics, or creates like the occasional funny video. With this series I'm hoping that each episode you watch will help you to get to know me a bit better, and to get to know me more as a person than a YouTuber. Hopefully some of these experiences that I've had will resonate well with you and help you out with issues that you might be having. In this series I'll be covering various aspects of my life growing up, as well as answering questions that you leave in my videos. If you have something that's bothering you that you need to get off your chest, you can leave a comment down below, or even just send me like a message on Facebook or Twitter, and I'll either reply to you or I'll answer it in a future video. Today's commentary will be about my current and past relationships and why I wanted to date a girl gamer. When I mention girl gamers, I'm not talking about the stereotype of an attention whore, like the type of girl that goes around saying like, "Oh, look at me, I'm a girl gamer. I'll show my tits and get a few million Twitch followers," that kind of stuff. I'm talking about a girl that has a huge passion for playing video games to the same level that any guy would. They're up to date with things like the latest franchises, looking at the latest news, attending events, and even cosplaying as their favourite characters. I believe that sharing a hobby with someone is extremely important. It doesn't matter what this hobby is, it could be things like gaming, cosplaying, comic books, Dungeons and Dragons, or even ordinary things like sports, shopping, and S&M. As long as you share a common interest with someone, you're going to have a lot more fun in the long run. Planning projects together, trips out, and not to mention you're going to have something to talk about when you're both alone together. I've been in a few relationships in the past, and a problem that I often encountered was that I'd end up running out of things to talk to them about. I ended up realising that we don't really like any of the same things, and this created a void in the relationship. We both slowly started to realise that the only thing keeping us together was things like sex, being afraid of finding someone else, or that we'd put so much time into a relationship that we didn't want to see it as a failure and that all those years were wasted. My previous relationship did have a huge flaw. My girlfriend at the time hated that I played video games. She would go out with her friends shopping, watching movies and drinking. I'd stay at home creating YouTube videos, streaming and playing games with my friends, which is all the stuff that I like to do, and also it's partly my job. What ended up happening is that she'd see me on the computer a lot. In her mind this was like me saying I didn't want to spend time with her, and in reality I was obviously just doing YouTube as a part-time job to keep myself out of debt, and then in my spare time, the same way she'd go out and have fun, I'd do that on my computer talking to my online friends. I feel like my ex would have had less of an issue with me if I had a normal outside hobby like playing golf or dogging, because then at least she wouldn't feel like I didn't want to spend time with her. YouTube is something I'd never go back and change. It's helped me to make a lot of new friends, it gave me direction in life, and I now know that I want to pursue a career in gaming. Previously, I didn't really have any idea what I wanted to do. It's really rare to find the one on your first try. Puberty and hormones help you to make bad decisions. You go around thinking with your dick and it takes a while for your brain to catch up and help you realise that you kind of fucked up and you got in a relationship where it possibly wasn't going to last as long and the only things keeping you together, like with things that I mentioned like sex. Coming out of a relationship where she hated everything I liked made me realise that I wanted someone I could share a hobby with, and it made me want to find a girl gamer. My last relationship had a pretty awkward ending. I was living in shared university accommodation with a girl I'd been dating for 2 years. Having just got out of a relationship, I wasn't really looking for love or anything anytime soon. Instead, I decided that I would wait to see what happened naturally, and reminded myself not to make the same mistakes I had in the past. A girl that I was working with, after finding out I lived with my ex, informed me that telling that to any prospective girlfriends or dates would be a pretty bad idea. It raises a huge red flag for girls and would potentially be a big no-no to starting a relationship. Needless to say, I wasn't in any frame of mind to start another relationship anytime soon, so I continued creating YouTube videos, studying and live streaming. And then one night at 2 AM, I saw a retweet from Super Serious Rager, and it was linking to an Assassin's Creed 3 livestream. Since I had nothing better to do, I decided to check out what the new game was like, because I'd played the first one and I'd seen my brother play through the second one, so I thought I might as well see what the third one's like. I actually do enjoy watching other people's playthroughs. On the release of Bioshock Infinite, rather than buying the game, I watched an entire playthrough of it from another YouTuber. I can't remember his name, but he basically cut it up to be like a movie, which was really cool to watch. If I do find it, I'll put a link in the description below so you guys can check it out. Of course, the link that I clicked was to twitch.tv/Alymew, a person who I had no previous knowledge of. I'd only recently met Super Serious Rager. She didn't have a camera on, so I didn't get like any of those cheesy like love at first sight experience or anything like that. I had no idea what she looked like. All I heard was the occasional laugh and replies to her viewers. When I joined the stream, I was disappointed at first, primarily because she was completing the last 10 minutes of the game, and on that note I was like, oh, well, I'll go and check out someone else that's streaming. But then she mentioned that she was going to go and play Halo 4, and she was going to go and play it next with the viewers, so I dropped her a message and asked if I could be added to the game. mainly because I didn't actually play Halo 4 with anybody, and I had like a sudden urge to like, yeah, Halo 4 man, that game's mint. I used to play that with like a group of people, and then they all kind of stopped playing it and moved on to like PC, and then I was like, I want to play it again some more. I've still got it. I just didn't have like anyone to play with at the time. We played a mixture of SWAT and team deathmatches. It didn't really impress me with my amazing skills or anything like that. It was very much the other way around. I finished the first match with like 6 kills, and she had something like 28 to 32 kills. So I was pretty impressed with that. And then she went on to prove that she's a really good Halo player, coming top of the leaderboard every match with like over 20 kills. I was like, holy shit, this girl is good at Halo. I was pretty much a beginner at Halo at that point. She kept using callouts like one shot, which she had to explain to me meant that the guy she was shooting had 1 shot left before they'd die. Often when you lose your shield and you're about to die, you'll shoot the guy and step behind a corner, so that a teammate can come out with a full shield and take them out instantly. So I started following her around the map to see how she played, because I didn't really know any of the routes through the maps or anything like that people used. And having played with a lot of pros before, she obviously like had learned and picked up all of the best routes through the map, so I started following her through there, picking up any of the kills that she wasn't able to get. After the stream, I added her on Twitter, in case I felt like playing Halo again. She followed me back after realising that I was a YouTuber, and we chatted for a bit over Twitter, and set up another play date on the following day, where I joined in with her and her clanmates while they were in a party. Playing together for a couple of days, we eventually added each other on Skype. We did this because we realised that the time zone difference meant we wouldn't really catch each other online. Eventually this led to us talking about ourselves rather than our YouTube channels, creating like sync tubes together where we'd watch videos. I think one of the first videos we ever laughed at together was one where it was like a dude like saying like, don't watch, I think Boko or something, which is an anime about, it's meant to be a dude that dresses up as a girl, so like a cross-dresser is in the anime, and he's like, yo, every time he talks about her having a dick, or him having a dick, or whatever it is. And then everybody else in the anime starts to like be cross-dressers, and it's like really strange. I'll put a link to that in the description if anyone wants to see that. It was actually quite funny. Yeah, so and then we started talking about things like university and what we wanted to do after. I admit I didn't really get a crush on her at first because I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought like, oh, I found like a new friend to play games with. Since she lived 3,000 miles away in America, it was kind of something that I didn't really expect to happen, so I never really thought about it, and I was, at the time, like I said, I wasn't really looking to get into a relationship. We eventually agreed to talk to each other on webcams over Skype. She was holding an anime bake sale where she dressed up in a yukata and was selling cakes at her university. A yukata is kind of like the formal, like traditional dress in Japan. She looked really cute in it, and like the inner otaku in me was buzzing. It was the first time I'd seen a girl in one, other than in movies and anime. Like I think the last movie I saw with one was something like Kill Bill. And then in most of the animes, they always have like that festival episode where everybody dresses up in them. After that initial Skype session, luckily she actually liked talking to me over camera, and we kept talking to each other over cameras whenever we'd be online. Having fun together playing Spartan Ops Co-op campaign on Halo 4, and games like Saints Row 3, Black Ops 2, our feelings started to surface for each other. We started to laugh at things more together and realised that we both really liked each other's company. I could tell that she was into me at least a little. I loved talking to her because I was able to be myself around her. She enjoyed my company, like I said, laughing with me. I started to realise that I really liked her. I hadn't had this much fun really before with a girl, and I was hoping that she felt the same. Previously I would have fun in a sense with girls, but it wouldn't be in the same sense where I'd do something like my hobby where I'm playing video games, and I'd be playing it with a girl who I really liked. So that's a little bit different from like my past relationships really. I decided that I wanted to send her something for Christmas, so I asked if she had ever had British chocolate before. So I sent her this box containing things like Cadbury's chocolate, Dime bars, which are like my favourite chocolate is like Dime bars. Oh, it's just so good. Anyway, and I also sent her double-deckers, Lion bars and Kinder eggs, which were apparently banned in America at one point. I think they've just started to come back. And they were previously banned because you couldn't have toys on the inside of food. If you guys don't know what Kinder eggs are, it's basically like a chocolate egg with a capsule in the inside which contains like a little toy that you usually put together. So I sent her one of them because it's like something that I bought when I was a little kid a lot when I was growing up. In return, she sent me some Asian sweets and chocolates like Pocky and watermelon candy, which I demolished really quickly because the candy was extremely nice. It was a Japanese candy which I hadn't ever had before. I'd always looked at them kind of online on a few sites, but I'd never really thought of buying them because I thought like the shipping prices were a lot, but obviously in America it's a lot cheaper to buy over there. The chocolate was super cheap, but sending the box alone cost about £35. I'd say that this was a huge turning point in our relationship. After that we began to talk to each other at a more personal level. We eventually expressed our feelings for each other and how we really liked each other's company, and wished that we lived closer together, because we were like, oh, it sucks that you're so far away, I wish I could just like go and meet you and stuff like that. And then I started to talk about what we wanted to do after university. I mentioned how I was thinking of travelling somewhere, as I'd only really been outside of the UK once in the past 10 years, the last time being when I went to Greece with my brother, and we stayed on one of the islands there, and it was basically more like a clubbing destination, which is something that I'm not as interested in. I actually prefer to kind of just go out and relax at a resort and that kind of stuff, and do things like jet skiing and fun activities. We did do a few fun activities on that holiday, but it wasn't kind of like the full experience that I was looking for my first time travelling outside the UK. I'd always wanted to see America, so I suggested the idea that once I finished university, I could travel to New York where I'd meet Ali for the first time. I remember her having the biggest smile I'd ever seen when I suggested that, so I instantly knew that she wanted me to visit. We started planning out everything we wanted to do together in New York, what touristy things I wanted to see, what places I wanted to eat at. For me, May couldn't come soon enough. I was super nervous and excited to finally get the opportunity to see Ali. I hoped that she would like me as a person as much as she seemed to online, so I decided to clean myself up a bit, get a haircut, some new clothes. I aimed to impress her when we first met. By the time that May rolled around, we'd planned out everything for the trip. I booked a few different apartments to stay at for my 3-week visit. I booked them in different areas so I could experience the different parts of New York, and I'd finished sorting out all the paperwork I needed for a journey there. The day of the flight! I was actually surprisingly calm on the day of the flight. I'd been waiting for this day for so long that I'd already kind of gotten over worrying about it. I'd already methodically planned out every aspect of the trip in my head. I was completely on the ball, and I was like, yeah, I know exactly what I'd do in this situation. I'd already worried about everything so much that I didn't really have anything left to worry about. For the trip, I was wearing my comfy clothes, which consisted of an old pair of ratty jogging bottoms and a baggy t-shirt, so I kind of looked like a bit of a bum. I had a backpack with a change of clothes prepared to switch into when I landed, as I planned to look good for Sally when she initially met me. The plane flight was crazy long. I'd never really been in a plane for 10 hours before, and I expected to be able to sit down and fall asleep and wake up in New York, like I'd heard from a few people saying that their version of the trip was to just have a glass of wine and fall asleep. Sadly, a baby on board had different ideas. It decided to cry on and off for the duration of a flight. And if you guys know, when there's multiple babies on board, as soon as one starts crying, they all start crying. So that didn't really help, as well as I was on the seat alongside the wing, so the noise of the engine was going throughout the entire flight. I arrived in New York excited, but also feeling pretty icky. I felt like I'd just woken up after a night out at a friend's house, and I had to walk home in my sweaty, like, minging clothes. So I was really like, oh, I didn't feel good at all. When I was walking through the arrivals, I was looking for the nearest toilets. I saw a sign pointing around the corner saying, like, the toilets are around this way if you keep going out. So I was like, oh, I'll go and get changed before I meet Sally so I look good. I look like a complete bum and I feel like really like icky. I want to like freshen up a bit before I actually see her. Of course, when I turned the corner to head to the toilets, I had this huge old shit moment because I'd literally walked straight out into the waiting area where Sally was. Apparently in the New York toilets, there's no toilets before you actually like get from the baggage area to get to the arrivals area, or I'd missed them somehow. So I didn't realise, so I kind of walked out in front of her and I was like, oh, hello, and I was kind of like really annoyed at myself because I looked like a total bum wearing like the cheapest clothes. It looked like the cheapest clothes, like just like really plain jogging bottoms from Primark. So I was proper like devastated that her initial impression of me might have not been as good as I wanted it to be. Regardless, as I walked over to her, we had this awkward like, I can't believe you're kind of real and here kind of hug. So we kind of hugged each other a bit. It was quite awkward because obviously we used to seeing each other through a screen. We already had quite developed feelings for each other, so we did kind of have like this whole idea that we'd like to be together, but obviously we were just kind of seeing how it goes when we're in person, because people, when they're online and when you meet them in person, can act a lot differently. You can have as much time as you want to think about writing things online, and when you're in person it's kind of a bit different, which is why I think it was so important that when we talked online, we actually talked through Skype, face-to-face over mics, because then you can't kind of think about how you word things and how you write things as much. You just kind of have to talk to them like you would face-to-face. Straight away, the differences between Skype calls and real life became apparent. She was much shorter than I'd expected. Since I talked to her over Skype, it made us feel like we were the same height, obviously because your camera's kind of in front of you, pointing straight at your face. I expected her to be a bit taller than she'd said. She had said she's short and she expected me to be tall, but I don't think she expected how tall I was compared to her. So when we walk into the car, I noticed that she had a really nice butt. So I hadn't obviously seen that, being on Skype and only seen her face. So I was like, oh yeah, that's a nice asset. So I was pretty happy about that. I arrived at the apartment having not slept for 24 hours, so I felt like a total zombie. I didn't want to sleep at the time because I wanted to be able to spend some time with Sally. So I decided to jump in the shower so I could freshen up and talk to Sally some more. After a little while, we went out for something to eat together. New York felt really alien to me. The cars were driving on the wrong side of the road coming from the UK, where we drive on the right side of the road. Or we drive on the left side of the road, sorry. And then in America, they drive on the right side of the road. It was very strange for me seeing the cars driving around like that, and whenever I went to cross the road, I always look in the wrong direction first and then look the right direction. And I was like, oh, this is so awkward for me to try and walk around and cross the street and everything. In New York, everyone spoke with a different accent. There was a huge mixture of different cultures and ethnicities, which is something I haven't really experienced much in the UK. Often when different cultures move over to the UK, they kind of all move into the same area. We all end up with a lot of different areas in the UK, and I wasn't really prepared for New York, because I was like, whoa, there's a lot of different cultures here. This is something I'm not, like, honestly used to. I grew up in a small town in Billingham, where you don't actually see a lot of different, a lot of different cultures. I'm not saying that I'm racist or anything. That shocked me. It was just like very different for me, and in a way that you'd expect. It was kind of like when you travel to a different country. The whole thing kind of looks like something out of a movie. From New York, obviously everywhere looked like something that I'd seen in a show like Friends or a movie. So I was half expecting Bruce Willis to come flying around the corner in a taxi, Die Hard style, racing past or something. So it was a bit of a different experience for me. After we finished shopping for food, we headed back home, where around 7 PM I ended up crashing out in bed, cuddled up next to Sally. It felt like a dream come true, being able to hug her. And obviously, it being 7 PM for her and her not usually getting to bed at midnight to 2 AM, she ended up going out from the apartment into the kind of lounge area and watching a movie with the other people that were using the apartment. During the trip, we visited very touristy spots like the Times Square, Central Park, Brooklyn Bridge, and ate great food in places like Chinatown, Korea Street, and at various pizzerias. I went to the Dollar Pizza store, which had amazing pizza, and you get that little tub of herbs or whatever it is to sprinkle on the top of it. That was my first time doing that, and that tasted really good. And I was if I ever went to university here, I'd end up completely ODing on this place. I had an awesome time at New York. Our relationship advanced a lot, and I really dreaded having to leave to return to the UK. I left New York feeling happy that our relationship had regressed, but uncertain about what the future would hold. It would be 6 months before I would get to see Sally again, and I didn't know what hurdles we'd have to overcome during that time. I hope you guys have enjoyed my commentary. I don't often post things very personal to me, but I realised recently that talking about my problems that I've had in the past is really helping me to get over them. Like I said at the beginning, if you've gone through something similar and need to get something off your chest, you can go ahead and drop a comment below or send me a message on Facebook or Twitter. If you'd like to hear me talk about something specific, or answer one of your questions in a future video, you can also leave a comment below. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all next time.